All right.
Okay. We will go to the Dragons versus the Raiders. And the Dragons, I don't know what the hell happened last week. I can't lie. I was all over the Dogs. I literally went to town on them at one point, said, "You'll never hear me say the word Dogs 13 plus. It's not going to happen." And yeah, the Dragons, do you know what? I don't need any help. I can make myself look stupid all by myself. But the Dragons were there with the assist there. So thank you for that one, St George. I'll buy you a pint. But yeah, the Dragons were terrible last week. They've gone for a pretty much unchanged lineup. The only change is that they welcome back Sims, which means that Kerr will drop to the bench. Farmasili will lose his spot. As for the Raiders, they are unchanged. I mean, the Raiders, they got the win last week. Again, ain't broke, don't fix it. Two teams that we predicted wrong last week. Basically, we said that the Raiders were all at sea and it wasn't going to happen, and then they win. The Dragons, we said that they'll get up over the Dogs, and they played terrible. They played just absolutely awful. So again, I have a hard time calling this one because I just don't know which one of these sides is going to show up. I have a sneaking suspicion it might be the Raiders, but then again, if you're the Dragons and you lose to the Dogs, realistically, you can't go out and lose again because, again, you're going to get a fan-based headache off the back of that one. People are going to be absolutely all over you. I am going to begrudgingly say Raiders 1-12 for this one. I just think that based on how the Raiders played last week, I think that they do have a decent shout. And again, based very much on the form and how the Dragons played last week, and especially with the news as well that Corey Norman won't be offered a contract next season, I think there's going to be a little bit of disgruntled play in the halves, and Norman's going to be trying to go for a contract himself. I'm gonna go Raiders 1-12. It's a bit of a stab from me as this one. I just think that their structure might be somewhat more concrete than the Dragons if we're going based on the form of last week.
Yeah, like I said earlier, went through last night, looked at what was going to be the potential team lists for this week, wrote everything down, and I believe I went Raiders 13 plus, Bailey Simonson scores, and I believe, I don't have the book with me, but I believe I said Whiten as well. It's hard to pick. The Dragons at Wollongong are a bit more threatening than the Dragons at ANZ. For whatever reason, whenever they play at Wynn Stadium, they play well. There is a name in the 21, a man by the name of Zach Lomax, who for whatever reason somehow transforms this team when he plays. Now, whether he plays this week is unknown. However, if he does, you'd have to imagine he goes from Gerard Beale, because Beale, he came, he answered, he got one more payday before I reckon he goes back into retirement this year, at the end of this year. But he's not been NRL quality. Hard to say when the most NRL I've played was school grade. But yeah, from an observer standpoint, he's not been NRL quality. He got burnt by Averillo twice. And Averillo has not been one of the shining lights for the Dogs this year, although he will be next year, I have no doubt. Averillo and Addo-Carr on one side for a Bulldog attack is quite threatening, if I do say so myself. But Simonson was fantastic at fullback last week. They obviously trust him over Caleb Aikens because Aikens isn't in the 21 this week. He was last week. Matt Tomoko, that's his position to keep as long as Jared Croker is out. And he looked damn good. Sam Williams looked like he enjoyed his footy for the first time in a while. Finally, there was a week without any controversy down at the Raiders. And they played well. Harawira and I didn't really do much. Kind of did what he had to do. But the one thing he did do was come from the back wall, go straight through the defense and charge 30 meters to score. So all hail to him, not only for the multi I put on the game, but for my super coach as well. Clutch points. Yeah. Raiders 13 plus for me. I don't know what happened to the Dragons last week. I don't know how you bounce back from that. But if that's the 17 that they throw out there, it's not going to be pretty, I don't think, if they play anything like they played last week. So Raiders 13 plus, Simonson, White, an anytime try scorer. If Lomax comes back, it wouldn't surprise me if they throw him on the side on the left. Who's been on the left? I believe it's Ramsey that's on the left wing. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes over at some point. Lomax requires 2 defenders. He's tall, he's strong, he has an offload. And that means they'll jam in and Ramsey will get a beautiful cutout ball on the left side to go over. But that's if Lomax plays.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Raiders 1-12. I think this one's gonna be slightly tighter. The Raiders, I come back to the point of just play structure. I think the Dragons have been a little bit more sporadic and a little bit more all over the place, and they're reliant. They're almost becoming too reliant on individual efforts. You know, they're reliant on somebody stepping out of the line and Dufty picking a hole. Those are not structured plays. They're not refined plays. Essentially, all you do is you have a man just marking up on Dufty all the time. It's all you do. You make sure that the defensive line stays tight, nobody shoots, and you've found a way to nullify Matt Dufty unless he puts a step on somebody. DeBellin's finding his way back in. Yes, he's been out for a while, coming, pre-court case and all the off-field drama that unfortunately did mar his career for a short while, and thankfully for him that is over now. But he was a New South Wales forward. He was one of the better forwards in the comp. He was sturdy and reliable, and that's by no means am I saying that he's not that now, but he's just not quite the player that he was 2 years ago, which again you expect when somebody's had that long away from the game, especially look at Beale. Beale was a fantastic centre, but as you mentioned, father time has caught up with him, and you see that in his legs and getting burnt, as you mentioned, by Avarillo on a couple of occasions last week, who, to his credit, Avarillo is an absolute speedster and he's a bit of a gun. But I think the Raiders, in regards to this one, yeah, they've just got the better structure for me, even with Simonson being a bit of a makeshift one. Sutton is keeping his 13 spot. And he's keeping out Hudson Young at the minute, which fair enough. Like, Hudson Young is having to drop down to reserve grade and play his trade there and try and work his way back up. But that's testament to how well Sutton's playing. And I know that he had a lot of critics as well when he first came across, and there was a lot of question marks, but he's earning his spot now. Hodgson has managed to bump Starlett back to the 14 shirt, and I just think that the Raiders are starting to find a little bit of form. I think that they're starting to find a little bit more about them, and I'm tipping to win this one. I'm going to go Raiders 1-12. I'm going to say Rapana anytime try scorer on that one, and again just a gut feeling. I think that the Dragons, as the numbers line up, he'll have Ramsey and Williami opposite him. Whiten works to that edge, manages to find a cutout ball. Rapana goes over untouched in the corner.